Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's insurance agency webinar presented by Farmers Insurance Group. Farmers is one of the country's largest insurers of automobiles, home, and small businesses, as well as providing access to insurance and financial services products. Today, we are fortunate to be joined by Nate Hildner, District Manager. Nate has been with Farmers Insurance Family for the past 19 plus years and has served in several executive leadership roles in 6 different states. Most recently, Nate was the head of Farmers Life Insurance Company in Seattle, Washington, before becoming a district manager in Naperville in 2018. Nate is married to his wife, Catherine, and they have 3 beautiful children. He's an avid golfer and loves Michigan and Detroit sports. Nate has a passion for working side by side with entrepreneurs as they build their legacy and make their dreams of owning a business with unlimited earning potential come true. Before I go ahead and turn things over to Nate, I wanted to let you all know that today's webinar will be recorded and you'll receive an email later today so that you can view it again or share with any friend, family, or colleague you think would be interested in learning more about the opportunity. At the end of the presentation, we will have a Q&A session. You'll notice that you are muted and you will be throughout the call, so please use the chat feature to send over any questions you may have. Now let me turn things over to Nate.
Thank you so very much, Melissa. Appreciate that introduction. Just a quick thank you to all the individuals that are on the presentation today. I know your time is very valuable, and to take the opportunity to learn about what I believe is the best small business opportunity in America, to sit with us and learn about this opportunity is it's a pleasure. So thank you to all the attendees for taking time out of your schedule. We will try and wrap up in about 40 to 45 minutes, and then you'll have all my contact information at the end of the presentation so that we can talk to you more in depth on a one-on-one basis. I'm also joined today by my head of recruiting, John Breidenbach, and John's going to share some of the slides with you here in a second. Hello. But John is off to my left. And to help tell the story of becoming an agency owner, I can go on and on through my 20 years of experience and talk about why I believe it's the best small business opportunity, but I've brought with me today from downtown Chicago, one of our newest, most successful, one of my top 5 agents in the district, Mr. Fred Abernathy, to talk a little bit about his experience. He's going to give a little bit of his background, and then we're just going to kind of have a little bit of conversation back and forth. I've got a couple of questions that I'd like to ask Fred to talk about his experience with farmers. So Fred and I struck up a conversation, I think it was late summer, early fall of 2021. Fred signed on as a retail agent where he opened his own office, had 2 employees, and owned his business in November of 2021 after a pretty successful journey with CarMax. So Fred came to the insurance business with, I think he would agree, little experience, a little bit more on the health insurance side. And so I want Fred to give a little bit of his background, and then I'm going to kind of tee up Fred to talk about, what was that experience like coming from more of a corporate type of environment to literally eating what you kill, right, Fred? Whatever you sell is what you get paid on. So Fred is not like me. He's not a Detroit Lions fan, as you can tell. He is a Chicago Bears fan, diehard.
We got the number 1 pick, baby.
Number 1 pick coming up. So Fred, thanks again for taking 10 minutes of your time. I know you're extremely busy writing a lot of policies these days. Melissa, thanks for moving the slide forward. So Fred, give a little bit of your background and then kick it back to me if you don't mind.
All right, thank you, Nate. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to discuss this great small business venture that you talked about. Yes, I worked for CarMax for 17 years. I started as a sales consultant, so I just sold cars. moved up to becoming a sales manager. I was a sales manager for probably 11 years. I also worked in the service department as well. And of course, the carrot was dangled that you could become a location general manager, because everybody at some point in your life, you want to move up the chain and chase the titles and be the owner, the head honcho. Well, in order to become the location general manager, you got to move across the country. You got to go open a CarMax here, go open a CarMax there. And don't get me wrong, CarMax was a great company, and I went to a lot of great places, and met a lot of great people, and made a lot of money selling cars. And I actually loved what I was doing. But part of the story was I did get ill, and I took sick, and I couldn't be out on the lot and walk the way I normally walk. So it took my career path differently. And when I found out about Farmers, it was through another friend who actually worked at CarMax, who was being recruited by Nate. And Nate gave him the whole pitch on how great it was to be at Farmers. And he just was like, hey, this sounds great, but I know somebody else who would be really great for it. And he threw my name in a pot. And it's a blessing to have other people know the skill set that you have. And he was able to speak highly of me. Nate gave me a call. I went to his office. I seen all of the Detroit stuff, and I almost walked out when I seen all that Detroit stuff. But we had a great conversation.
Fred. Hey, so Fred, after a successful stint with CarMax, talk to me a little bit about, your biggest concern making the transition and going to a company in a different industry as a whole, because I think probably many people on this webinar today, they're thinking about making a change. That's why they're in here, but there are some concerns. So maybe talk a little bit about what your biggest concerns are or were, and kind of how you got through those.
I'm a pretty confident dude, and I love what I do. I love the commission environment. So I love the fact that nobody can tell me how much I can make. I never liked working alongside of people who we did the same job, but I worked harder and we got the same pay. So if I work harder, I feel like I should get paid more. So that's one of the things that I loved about commission, even with CarMax. But coming over to the insurance world, it was always something that I always had to have, but didn't quite understand it. But it's one of those things where you're like, they tell me I have to have this, but if I don't, I can get a ticket, or something bad can happen and I won't be covered. So I'll get it just because that's what people told me. But coming over to this side, my biggest concern wasn't about making the sales, because in Chicago there are a billion people, and everybody's driving a car, everybody needs car insurance in Illinois, so that wasn't the issue. Everybody has some place that they need to stay, so homeowners insurance or renters insurance, not an issue. It's a numbers game. Everybody has a life, so there's a numbers game with that too. My biggest concern was where I was going to put my office. Out of everything that I had to do was where I was going to put my office, because it was important to me to be able to be in a community that I came from, so that I can help teach people that I know and that I grew up with how to transfer wealth and how to protect their dreams and their family.
Awesome, Fred. I appreciate that. And I think just to help alleviate some of those concerns for the people on the call today, my job, I am not Fred's boss. There is no boss employee-employer relationship. As a district manager, I am an independent contractor. I'm not an employee of Farmers, and our agency owners are independent contractors, 1099 employees. My sole job and responsibility is to make our new agents successful. So Fred and I, we talked about different locations, different areas, where his natural market, his community, the people he goes to church with, where do they do business? And my job is to help go through the lease, make sure you don't get tied into something that you don't want to be tied down to for long term in case you want to move in the future. So I work as a consultant for Fred. And I think with 20 years in the business, I bring a lot of that experience. I know what works. It's a very valid concern, I think, Fred, but the support staff that you get, we help with some of that. And I think that's a good transition to the next question. So, you know, for the people looking to make a change to a new industry, a lot of people are concerned about the onboarding, the training, you know, who's going to be by my side? Is Nate just going to recruit me and throw me to the wolves and, hey, figure it out on your own? Because there are organizations out there like that. So can you talk a little bit about the onboarding experience, Fred, the training that you got, and maybe the support to make sure that you're successful?
So coming from the corporate world, CarMax they were one of the top 500 training companies, as well as one of the top 500 companies retail wise. So when I came here, I was like, I don't know if they're going to compare, but our district, I can't talk about all the districts and Farmers, but District 09 with Nate Hildner, listen, we get the best training ever. We have a trainer named Gabby, and Gabby is awesome. Like, I actually talk to Gabby more than Nate. Don't tell Nate, guys. But Gabby, she knows,
I would too if I were you, Fred.
She knows the system ins and outs. She knows how to navigate. She's very good with your staff. She trained us from beginning to end. If you've never seen an insurance quote policy whatsoever, after you get done with Gabby and that training, you will be a stout professional. Then when it came to marketing, John is amazing with helping recruiting new staff. He's constantly calling me, hey, Fred, I met this person. I got this person. What do you think about it? John is awesome. And Nate is always on board. The only downfall for this team is that Nate, he cheers for Michigan fans. Other than that, their team is awesome. Like, I couldn't ask for a better training or more onboarding. I mean, every step of the way, from setting goals to contests to help motivating you to just accomplish certain things, it was phenomenal. So like I said, I can't tell you about other districts, but I know District 09 with Nate Hildner and the team, these guys are amazing when it comes to training and onboarding.
Thanks for that, Fred. I do appreciate that. You know, I think the other piece that it's been a while since Fred's gone through it, there is a 5-week University of Farmers training course where you're set up with other agency owners, brand new agency owners across the United States, with instructors. And it's not so much product driven, but it helps you from a marketing, managing your P&L, helping you with sales, how to compete against our competition. So I think you also get that in addition to working with John and Gabby and myself. And just a little bit more background on Gabby. Gabby's got 26 years of experience with farmers, and Fred is right. I would put her up against any other trainer that's out there. Fred, what's the one thing that you've enjoyed most probably about being your own boss, being affiliated with farmers, or maybe that surprised you the most over the last year and a half?
Man, it's been so many different things that have made my life better with being a part of Farmers. One, being able to manipulate my own time. I never liked the idea of trading my hours for dollars. So I worked a certain amount of hours so that I could make a certain amount of money. No, I want to be able to be involved with my kids' lives. I can help coach my daughter's softball team. I can go visit my other daughter in Charlotte when that's in school, and I can sell a policy no matter where I'm at. If I got a laptop, internet, and my cell phone, I can still be working. So it made it so much easier, and I think that's one of the most important things for me was it made it remote. And it was one thing we learned out of the pandemic was that we don't have to really be sitting in front of people, just like we are now. We're doing things virtually. So with this type of a business, you can do a lot of it virtually. I have people that are working right now that are not in my office. They're at home with their kids and they're working and they're living a lifestyle that they like to live. And it's just been amazing to be able to control your own time.
And those employees, Fred, they're your employees, right? So you call the shots on how much they get paid, how many hours a week they work. So that's the other, I think, big advantage of being a farmer's agent. You get to bring on your own team. And I know Fred, gosh, he's a dynamic speaker. I've asked him to talk at some of our district meetings. he loves the people development side too. So if that's a hot button for you, that you want to help build wealth for people in your community and they want to come on this journey with you to start an agency, you have the ability to do that. So
Absolutely. And just being able to, I don't really consider myself the boss. I mean, I know Nate said, hey, he's not my boss, which he's not, that was kind of amazing to me, because I was like, what happens if I do something crazy? Is Nate gonna yell at me? No, because I'm it. But I don't believe that I am the boss at my agency. Although they make me put Fred Abernathy Agency, the name of my agency is Team Abernathy, because it's really about the team. And I have a staff member in Linda where I have some clients that rather speak to her than me, which I'm totally okay with. But she is phenomenal. And it's all about the team that you build around you that helps make the agency great. I know I get the accolades because my name's on the door, but without my team, it wouldn't be what it is. But I tell you, if you have the capacity to be able to motivate and inspire people and understand and recognize talent, this job, it's not even a job, but this lifestyle would be a great fit for you.
yeah, that's spot on, Fred. And I think I say it to every single person that comes into this business, and maybe they've had sales experience, maybe they haven't, but the key is customers do business with people they know, they like, and they trust. So whether that's you as the agency owner or Linda, because they know her, they like her, and they trust her, that's how Fred's able to grow his business through having a successful staff. All right, Fred, last question, and then you're off to, I know, buy some Detroit Lions gear. So any words of wisdom or advice that you would share with someone on the phone that's looking to make the leap of faith to owning their own business?
So my actual words of advice is really this: the job that you're currently at feels secure, but at any moment that company could come in and say, hey, we're closing or we're downsizing. So it's not as secure as you think. And if you don't believe me, go talk to the millions of Americans who've been put out of work because of downsizing and jobs being moved. In this industry, everybody has to and needs insurance. So never be afraid of the fact that, what if I don't have clients? If you don't have clients, it's because you haven't put the time and effort in to find them, because they're there. They're walking down the street, they're in your church, they're at the grocery store, they're in your laundry room, they're everywhere that you look. Anytime you see a person, there's at least 3 products that you can market to that person. So you're never going to run out of customers. And people keep having babies, so they keep coming. So you're going to keep having customers. So don't fear the fact that you'll run out of people to market to, run out of people to sell to. The only fear is, are you gonna put the work and effort in to make your agency successful? If you can talk to yourself and tell yourself to be disciplined and tell yourself to get up every morning, because nobody's gonna make you go to your office, nobody's gonna make you make those phone calls. That's the fear, is that you don't want to bet on yourself. If you don't want to bet on yourself, then don't do this. But if you know that you're the type of person that can bet on yourself and you're going to make the difference and you're going to make it happen, this is where you want to be.
I'm inspired, man. I'm ready to go start my agency.
Well,
you always do a tremendous job, Fred, and I really appreciate you. I am looking to build this district team. I'm going to talk about culture at the end. We talk about the Farmers family. I consider Fred part of my family. I've met his 2 daughters before, great people at his ribbon cutting. I've met his pastor. I've met some of his closest friends. That is what our culture is built on. And Fred is going to hopefully be with us for the next 15, 20, 25 years, maybe hand off the agency through family rights, which is a advantage of our contract that I'm going to talk about, to one of his daughters or a family member. But I heard some key things, Fred: freedom, flexibility, unlimited earning potential, and the security of being a farmer's agent for as long as you want, because you have to have the products and services. So Fred, I'm super proud of everything you've accomplished in the last 18 months, and really looking forward to continuing this journey with you. Thanks for your time.
Not a problem. I appreciate it. Hey, and if you ever need me to do anything except root for Michigan, I'm there for you, Nate.
Thanks, man. Have a good afternoon. All right. See ya.
All right.
All right, that was pretty powerful, and I can't replicate that by telling Fred's story. So I think having him on to talk about his journey is really important. So Melissa, let's move to the next slide. I'm going to turn it over to my head of recruiting, John Breidenbach. He's going to give you a little bit overview of who Farmers is on a grander scale, and then talk a little bit about some of our products and services that you are able to sell, and then he'll turn it back over to me. So John, I'm going to slide the laptop to you, and let's give a little more background on Farmers.
Hello. Yeah, like Nate said, I do a lot of the initial recruiting, onboarding. I assist with the licensing. That's something we'll talk about as well. But as far as the follow-up after this call, as you're looking through this and you feel that it's a good opportunity for you, I'm going to be reaching out, so don't worry about that. So like Nate said, I'm going to talk about a couple different things. First off, background. So Farmers. Who is Farmers? What we do? Who are you representing versus the competitors and your consumers? What's the forefront of the company? So the second thing is product information. So product information is important because it covers licensing, and it also covers what you can sell, what you can offer, in the abundance of products that you can offer with Farmers Insurance. And then the final thing, what it means to be an exclusive agent. So exclusive agent is a key word because it's something that is different in this industry, and we'll cover that in a second as well. So who is Farmers? We've been around for over 90 years, established in 1928. I won't go into too many details, but two main things that I want to highlight on this slide is the claim service. So we have 24/7 claims. So when you think of claims, you think of it as a consumer, right? When the bad happens, when you get in an auto accident, something all the way up to a life insurance claim, you want to have a company that's going to back you up. So we're proud to have award-winning claims department service. The second thing that I want to touch on as well is our training. So we have a thing called the University of Farmers, the U of F, that as you're going through the Launchpad training that Nate's going to discuss, you're coming into our office, we have an abundance of training resources that are at your fingertips as you're going through this as an agent. And so we call that the University of Farmers. The final thing on the bottom here, so what those are, you see Foremost, Craft Lake, Bristol West, that kind of ties into our products. Those are other companies that we own, and we're owned by Zurich out of Switzerland, Zurich Insurance Group, and then we own Foremost, Craft Lake, and Bristol West. So I'll touch on that in a second as well. Can we go to the next slide, please, Melissa? Perfect. So these are the products. So you see here property and casualty, life insurance, and financial products. So this is the property and casualty is primarily your bread and butter as an agent or a protege or an associate agent. So this is what you're able to offer to each and every single one of the consumers out in the marketplace. So as you think about this, you think about licensing. So in order to sell insurance and offer these products in the state of Illinois, you have to be licensed by the state. That is something that we get discounts for the pre-licensing. This is something that I will literally walk you through. We'll go on a Zoom, we'll jump up and pull up the website, and we can log in and register you and get you signed up and walk you through that entire process. But for property and casualty, so when you hear it, it's P&C. Your auto, your home, your umbrella, that's the bread and butter. When you start getting into the summer months, you get your boats, your motorcycles, your toys. We have a lot of agents that, for example, Fred, he capitalizes on the motorcycles because he knows that market. So there's that. There's life insurance. So life insurance, that's tied life and health. So when we're talking licensing, that's your life and health licenses. So these are things like term life, whole life, universal, things like that. I'm sure many of you on this call also probably have life insurance. If you don't have it, you're going to hear it from Nate because that's his favorite thing to talk about. But so that's your life insurance. So we would have you get life and health licensed, and then financial products. So this is, as far as licensing, it's your Series 6 and 63. As an agent, we don't pressure you to get licensed with financial products right out of the gates. We want you to focus on that property casualty life insurance. But say year one, you're in, you have an abundance of clients in your book, and you want to start having those financial products. So talking 529 plans, 401ks. If somebody is willing to have their financial products with you, they're going to trust you with insuring their Honda Civic or their motorcycle that they're riding on the weekend. So having that financial license, we think at a district level is pretty important. We have, Nate, correct me if I'm wrong, 13 to 15 of our 30 agents that are financial licensed. So a good majority. So that's something we can talk about as well.
Hey, John, before Melissa goes on to the next slide, just price-wise, to get pre-licensing, taking the exams, and to pay for the state's licenses, about how much is a candidate looking to invest?
So we would call it all up probably $500 to $600. And now that's also dependent on your pass rate. So if you go in and you pass your first time, the licenses, so you sit in your pre-licensing for property and casualty insurance. You sit, you study, we say, hey, a week out, go take your state exam. It's a 70% pass or fail. In most cases, you would pass if you studied, and then you would register with the state for property and casualty. Same thing applies for life insurance and health. But yeah, I'd call it about $600 is fair to say. Yeah, Melissa, if we can go to the next slide, we can talk about Craft Lake. So, and I'll talk about this in a second on the exclusive agent opportunity, but one of the things that as an agent with Farmers that is different than our competitors is that not only you have the different products, right? Property and casualty, life insurance, financial products, where you can start a quote with a client in Farmers, and then you can then proceed to say, hey, maybe it's a rate-driven client where they don't like the rate with Farmers, or Farmers doesn't want to accept that risk. You can then place that business with Foremost Signature. So we acquired MetLife, their property and casualty side. So you can quote that business with Foremost Signature.
We rebranded it.
Yep, we rebranded it. We call it Foremost Signature. And then Craft Lake, we primarily see it with business insurance, so commercial insurance, but we own Craft Lake. So if you want to go and venture outside of the Farmers appetite and product, you can go and place that business with Craft Lake.
So key advantage versus being an Allstate agent, if they can't write business on Allstate paper,
right,
their agents are not able to write that customer. So big advantage to our contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If we can jump to the next slide, talk about what it means to be an exclusive agent with Farmers. Next slide. So a couple key points here. So there's numerous incentive and bonus opportunities. So what that means, as an agent, there's multiple different ways that you're going to be compensated. The first one is new business. So bringing on new clients to your agency with all the different products, you get your new business commissions. And then as they renew, just like you and I as a consumer, we renew our policies every 6 months, every year. Our agents receive residual income, so we call it service commissions, for those policies. So that's the second point in compensation to you as an agent. The third, not only is there Nate's private and he is always running different bonuses. For example, right now we're running a bonus for life insurance and commercial insurance, but Farmers also offers bonuses as well. And Nate will touch on the one primarily off of the retail, but also there's growth bonuses. So after your 3rd year mark, there's all kinds of consistent additional bonuses and compensation that you can earn. So the second point is the opportunity to participate in our Protege Agency Producer Program. So Nate will touch on the details in a moment here as he tells you the difference between the retail and Protege. But the Protege is something if the retail program is not in the cards for you at this time and you want a little bit more mentorship, you want to get your feet a little bit wet before you jump into being an agent right out of the gates, the Protege is for you. The agent appointment agreement. So what that is business that's not acceptable to Farmers, eligible to place through Craft Lake, like I just talked about. Or if it's not going through Craft Lake, at that point, you can place it outside almost like a brokerage, but you're an exclusive agent with Farmers. Service and commission rights. So from your first day as a Farmers insurance agent, you own your book of business. So anything you write, my first policy, I bring on family, friends, natural market, a lead source. You own that policy until either they choose to go somewhere else, or you choose to keep them forever and you sell your book. And that's the last point, contract value opportunities. So with that ownership of your book, say 20, 30 years down the line, you're looking to retire, maybe do something different, you've owned that book. So you can put that on the marketplace, sell that for contract value as well. So if we could jump to the next slide, I'm going to tee it back off to Nate. He's going to talk a little bit more and highlight those points, and then we'll go from there.
Excellent. Appreciate that, John. So why Farmers versus the competition? If you're like a lot of people that I come in contact with as they're looking at opportunities, they're interviewing with a number of different companies. So why Farmers? As John said, you own your business. You can sell your business on the open market for a price that you personally decide. Farmers doesn't even want to know how much you're going to sell it for. American Family, Country Company, Liberty Mutual, State Farm, they do not, their agents do not own the business. Family rights, we talked about that with Fred and his daughters. If they wanted to take over the business that their dad spent, a lot of his blood, sweat, and tears building, Fred is able to transition that business and sell it for at least $1. It has to be a business transaction to one of his children. Huge advantage. Again, State Farm is not allowed to transition a business through family members. We have multiple carriers to write with, so we have a place for every single customer. If they've got lots of tickets, DUI, lots of accidents, we put that with our non-standard auto carrier, Bristol West. 6 months of continuous coverage, we're then able to put it over into Foremost Signature or Farmers. So every single person you come in contact with can be placed through our Farmers companies. And John talked about the Craft Lake opportunity. Melissa, let's move forward. This slide and the next slide. So the retail program. If you're on the call today or listening at a later time, the retail program requires that you have $50,000 in capital. If you don't hear anything else, hear this piece though. Farmers is not a franchise, so you're not stroking a check for $50,000 to then be able to open up your doors. Farmers just wants to see that you have $50,000 in capital behind you to help invest and to help grow your business. So what are some of the bonuses that you receive as a retail agent when you first open your office? Once you get an exterior or a retail brick and mortar location, you will receive a $6,000 signing bonus to help you with the exterior signage. We also offer a $5,000 signing bonus. So right off the bat, you've got $11,000 of income coming in to do as you wish. The third one, we're going to help you with a marketing program, and we're going to give you up to $500 per month in leads. The fourth is a bonus while you're going through that 5-week training program. Number 5, you're going to receive a new business bonus based on your new business commission sales. And lastly, you're also going to receive an annual bonus. So you'll have 3 opportunities to receive that within your first 3 years as a retail agent. Going down below, the retail bonuses are in addition to your base commissions. You have a quarterly target that you're trying to achieve, and those quarterly targets reset each and every quarter. So if you have a bad quarter, no worries, you get back on bonus the next quarter. There are additional bonus opportunities that John spoke about once you come off of the 3-year retail program. And we've talked quite extensively about the new training through the University of Farmers. So you have that as part of your foundation to make sure that you're successful. Melissa, let's go to the next slide. All right. So there are 3 ways to start a farmer's agency. The first one is what I just talked about, the retail program. Have to have 50,000 in capital. You have to be fully licensed. John talked about property and casualty, life and health. You'll get the 5-week University of Farmers training, as well as the training from my local office. You have to set up a brick and mortar location, and you have to have at least 2 staff members that are licensed in either property and casualty or life and health. I would advise to have them licensed in property casualty. As John mentioned, that's your bread and butter. It's a lot more transactional business, so you need staff to help in those lines while you're out selling the bigger life and commercial. So if you're on here right now and you say, well, I don't have anywhere close to 50,000, or I'm thinking about transitioning from another business and I want to learn from a successful agent like Fred on the pitfalls of how to run an insurance agency, you can be part of a protege program where you would be an employee under one of my mentor agents. You do not have to show 50,000. The protege program is a 12-month program. You receive the University of Farmers training. You work for a mentor agent, and farmers ask that you sell $100,000 in premium. Once you sell that $100,000 in premium, not commissions, but premium, over a 12-month period, you waive the capital requirement. So one of my other wildly successful new agents was 20 years old when I met him. He was working in a factory in Streator, and he's like, I want to own my own business. He was an entrepreneur, but he's like, I don't have anywhere close to 50,000. So we took Hayden, we placed him under a mentor agent. He met the $100,000 in sales in 5 months, and he opened last May in downtown Streator and has been wildly successful, as I mentioned, has 4 staff members, great brick and mortar location, and is making more money than he ever thought possible. The last program is the associate agency program. This would be a program that you kind of say, hey, I want to dip my toe into the insurance waters. I want to continue working my other job, but I would like to get licensed. I would like to sell some policies. The associate agent, again, you do not need the 50,000 in capital. The associate program is actually a 2-year program. You'll complete all the training. And again, within a 12-month cycle, you have to sell $100,000 in premium. And then if you love the industry, you love working with people, you love the customer service aspect, and you say, I think I'm ready to open my retail agency, that's then when we transition you to the first program that I talked about on the left side of the slide, the retail program. So 3 ways to come in: retail, protege, and associate. All right, Melissa, in the interest of time, let's go on to the next slide. So what does the onboarding process look like? So from the day that you probably have a one-on-one discussion with myself or with John, from step 1 to step 6, opening your business, is a 90 to 120 day time frame. So 3 months to 4 months from our first interview to opening is very, very realistic. The second thing we would do right after we had our discussion, every single agency owner with Farmers has to go through a background check. They look for 2 things: no felonies and no collections greater than 5,000. Pass the background check, then we start working on the licensing. As John mentioned, you need to have 4 licenses: property, casualty, life, and health, and we have the opportunity to get your Series 6 and 63 in the future. Training and onboarding, you must complete the 5-week University of Farmers training, as well as the training here locally. We're located in Naperville, right off of I-88. We do a lot of Zoom calls. Gabby also will go out to you from time to time, so we make it so that everybody can be accommodated with their schedules. All right, number 5, complete the 5-week training. Have 2 licensed and appointed staff. John helps you tremendously. We have lots of different recruiting that we do, so we help you find those licensed and appointed staff people. And Farmers wants to see that you can sell a little bit of insurance before we have you open the doors, so we ask that you sell 15 auto and home policies and 2 life. And then at that time, once you have that signed office lease ready to go, you are open for business. And we put on new agents on the 1st of every month. So again, that's a 90 to 120 day process in onboarding from first interview to opening up the doors. All right, Melissa, let's go to the next one. Farmers culture. So everybody has a different why, right? My why for my 20 years has been to provide for my wife and my 3 kids. I want to provide a great life for them. And I think probably 90% of the people that get into owning their own business, their family is their why. I talked about our farmers family culture earlier. We run promotions, we do retirement parties, we celebrate people's milestones. I know every one of my agents' spouses, I know their kids, we like to hang out together, and we've got each other's back. That is our farmers culture. When I was on the corporate side, as Melissa mentioned earlier, I moved 8 times in 15 years with the organization. There was always somebody that put their arm around me and said, hey, Nate, I know your family's back in Michigan or Chicago. You don't have anybody here to celebrate the holidays. Why don't you come over, spend it with our family? And that's what we're all about. And I know it sounds cliche to say that it's farmer's family, but we can show it to you, we can prove it. And my sole responsibility, if you put your trust and confidence into coming aboard to my farmers family team, is we will make sure that you are successful. And that's what this organization and our district culture is all about. And I think Fred did a good job of talking about that. So Melissa, let's go forward to the next one. I don't know if I can't see questions coming in, but if there have been some, I am willing to. I know we're pushing up on an hour. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So maybe a handful of questions, 2 to 3 questions.
Perfect. Yeah, we did have some questions that came through. You were very thorough in your presentation, so you actually answered many of people's questions, but we'll go through some just so that if they missed the answer, you can tell everybody again. I just wanted to remind everyone that it will be recorded and you'll receive the recording of this presentation later today in an email. I am going to leave up the contact information on the screen for Nate, so you have a chance to jot that down, but you will also receive that in an email later today as well. We did have a few questions that came through about licensing. You had mentioned the licenses that were needed and the cost, but can you tell everybody again the cost of the licensing and about how long it takes to get those licenses?
Yep, great question. So we didn't talk about how long it takes to get the licenses. So if you're dedicated and you're focused on the licensing piece, you do 2 days of class for property and casualty. I always say then take 5 days to study for the exam and then go take the exam. And you can actually take the exam from the comfort of your own home through Pearson VUE, who does the testing. Then you have to do 2 days of licensing for life and health, and then take that exam as well. I say if you're focused and dedicated to getting your licenses, 3 to 4 weeks is extremely realistic to be fully licensed. And as John mentioned before, right around the $600 mark is the cost. To actually purchase your licenses through the state of Illinois is $200. And then when you add on the cost for each exam, which is around $100, plus the required pre-licensing, you're all in around $600.
Perfect. You had mentioned that they needed a minimum of 2 employees in their agency. About average, how many employees does a successful agency have? And do you guys assist with helping find successful agents to work in their agency?
Absolutely. So I would say the average for a very successful agency that's selling a lot of life and commercial and has more tenure with farmers is around 4, but the average is 2. And the reason we have 2 is you want to have another producer or protege that works with you to grow from a sales perspective. And then the other person that's licensed is kind of that office manager that helps set your schedule, helps with filing claims when they come about. But they're licensed so that if somebody calls in, they can cross-sell while you, as the agency owner, may be out building your network, doing commercial sales, life sales. So they are overseeing that, the office for you. So,
Perfect.
and another piece of that is compensation, I think, Melissa. The good thing about being an independent contractor and being the owner of your agency is you determine how much the staff gets paid. A lot of our agents will do a base hourly amount as well as a commission split, but I have 30 agents in my district. There are 30 different compensation programs, and part of our business planning and helping you get ready is to build out what that compensation structure looks like.
Perfect. So you had mentioned that the location has to be a brick and mortar. Just to make sure this is not a remote opportunity, they have to lease an office space for their agency.
That is correct. So a couple things on that piece, Melissa. It is a brick and mortar location. However, you could be in a shared office space like a Regus space. I've watched WeWorks recently. So that can be your location. You could have a great location on Main Street in your local town. It's all up to you. You just cannot run the agency from your home. That is not allowed. The other piece of it is you have to be at least a half a mile away from another farmer's agency. So we don't want people stepping on each other's toes. So the rule that we have with our corporate office is that when you do identify where you want your office space, we just make sure that there's not another farmer's agency a half mile away. The associate program, however, Melissa, if they want to just get started, they're working their other job and they decide to go the associate route, that you can do from your home. But when you officially open the agency, you do have to have a signed office lease.
Great, that's great information. You had mentioned the capital investment that was needed. Can you tell everyone a little bit what that capital investment is used for by an agent?
Absolutely. So when we do our pro formas and we go through profit and loss and all the expenses versus the commission dollars coming in, I always say there's three main overhead expenses. The lease on your office, which averages anywhere from $800 to $2,000 per month, depending on where you're located. You have your expense of the 2 licensed staff members. I always say that life and commercial pays for the overhead, while your auto and home sales and renewals are what brings in the income for you personally, your take home. And the third major expense is for marketing, whether that's buying leads, whether that's building your network. When I talk about centers of influences, who do you know that's a mortgage broker, a loan officer, an accountant that does car sales? Those are people that are going to refer you business. And if you offer some sort of referral bonus, that's tied into some of your marketing expenses. I tell people in the interview that you really need to set aside about $2,000 to $3,000 a month in addition to that $500 that I talked about to invest back into the business to help you grow. So the $50,000 in capital that Farmers requires, again, you're not stroking a check, you're not liquidating those funds, but on a month-to-month basis, you have to have a little bit of that 50 that you're willing to invest while the business is growing and starting. Hope that helps, Melissa.
Absolutely. So that was our last question. I wanted to thank you, Nate, and Fred and John for all the great information shared today, and everyone that attended. A reminder, This is recorded and you'll receive it in email later today. Please feel free to share with any friend, family, or colleague you think would be interested in learning more. If you're ready to get started in a career with Farmers, you have Nate's information. We look forward to speaking with you more and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you so much for your time, Melissa, and helping moderate. And thank you again to all of our attendees today. Would love to talk with you one-on-one and go into greater details on our programs. I truly believe it is the best small business opportunity out there, and look forward to hearing and talking with many of you. Thanks again. Have a great rest of the week.